We hear about strange new things every day. Things like artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data, data science, a better world. But then we hear about massive job losses as a result of this better world and wonder how the two polar opposites can be true. Welcome to the first of 3 videos in a series where we address the hype surrounding the teaching kids to code craze that is again sweeping the world. In this first video, we will ask the question, should kids be learning to code? Now this may be a surprising question coming from a company that, in fact, teaches kids to code. But as you will see as we progress through this series on the subject, we do take a very honest look at the question and try to answer the question as pertinently as we can. So let's start with a bit of background and the reason why this question of learning to code has become so prevalent again. Well, the answer lies in the new industrial revolution that the world has apparently already entered into. A new epoch where the holy grail seem to be complex mathematical algorithms and so-called big data. You've heard of the so-called fourth industrial revolution, but what does that mean exactly? The first industrial revolution in the 18th and 19th centuries involved a change from mostly agrarian societies to greater industrialization as a consequence of the steam engine and other technological developments. The next technological age, the second industrial revolution, was driven by electricity and involved expansion of industries and mass production as well as technological advances. The third industrial revolution, sometimes called the digital revolution, involved the development of computers and IT or information technology since the middle of the 20th century. The fourth industrial revolution is growing out of the third, but is considered a new era rather than a continuation because of the explosiveness of its development and the disruptiveness of its technologies. According to Professor Klaus Schwab, founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum, and author of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, the new age is differentiated by the speed of technological breakthroughs, the pervasiveness of scope, and the tremendous impact of new systems. So when it comes to the Fourth Industrial Revolution, or 4IR as it is also known, a definition can be: the fourth industrial revolution is the current and developing environment in which disruptive technologies and trends such as the Internet of Things, robotics, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence are changing the way we live and work. So looking at this, 3 things are obvious. First off, the technologies being deployed are disruptive in nature. That simply implies that the normal way of doing things are being disrupted, unsettled, changed, and that the new normal way of doing things is vastly different from the old way of doing things. That also implies that we, very urgently, need to figure out what the new normal is and pass this on to our children. But in fact, not only to our children, but in reality, everyone that needs to be part and needs to function in this new reality. This is scary stuff already. The second thing we need to take notice of is the tense used in our definition, are changing. It is already happening. Have you started changing with the times, or are you already behind? If you feel you are behind the curve, do you know what to do to catch up? Do you know what to do so that your children have the ability to catch up? The third thing, the way we live and work. 4IR is quite literally changing our very existence on this planet, making the digital village smaller with bigger chunks of data, enabling new terms like meta-learning to take shape and change the way we learn and teach new things forever. So the question is, because this revolution is so incredibly disruptive and intrusive, is simply learning to code enough? Einstein said, education is not the learning of facts, it is rather the training of the mind to think. Did Einstein foresee this conundrum we find ourselves in? Interesting thought. So what should we be doing then? Should we be coding at all? For the answer to this, we borrow heavily from the work done by Mitch Resnick, director of the MIT Media Lab and one of the creators of the incredibly innovative Scratch programming language. In short, yes. But it is the way in which we teach coding to kids and the very specific outcomes we need to achieve that will make all the difference in the world. In the very world of the children, we need to equip for this crazy, scary new dawn that is already upon us. We believe that people should not be learning to code, but instead coding to learn. Just like you did not learn to read and write to become a writer, learning to code should not mean that you will become a software engineer or a data scientist. What if we use coding as a vehicle to prepare, not for the future, but for the present that we live in? And is this even possible? In our next video in this series, we are going to attempt to answer this and other burning questions, including what should we be teaching? Where should our focus be? So do not miss out on this. We may very well be on the cusp of changing our teaching and learning methodologies forever.